All right, welcome back, everybody, to the JR Overcome Show, episode 5. Man, thank you for the amazing feedback we've gotten for the last 4 shows. It has truly been incredible. I've had people that's been reaching out to me from all across the country just saying, Jay, I love your show. I love the content. It's really impacting me right here. That is what it's about. It's about teaching all of you out there, sharing the lessons that I've learned, hard-fought, hard lessons through life. And they're about leading yourself to success, and it's about developing the overcome mindset. So that's exactly what we're looking to do. So what an amazing past 2 weeks it's been for me. I got to tell you, I was in Florida. I spoke at Oxbridge Academy in West Palm Beach. Some of the future leaders for this country are going to come out of Oxbridge Academy. So huge shout out to them. I spoke to the West Palm Police Department. Our law enforcement officers out there, they're working so hard to take care of the communities, and right now they're facing a lot of adversity. So we want to support them, and I was down there motivating them, talking about leadership and the overcome mindset. From there, I flew to Hawaii, and I filmed an episode of Hawaii 5-0. I mean, how crazy is that? So that episode's going to come out in December. And then I flew to New York and I spoke to Bank of America for National Disability Month, talking about how to overcome, how we confront any of these things that some people may say is a disability. It's all in your mind. You just say how you can overcome it, just like I showed you in episode 4 when we were talking about different ways I work out despite my injuries. The next morning I was on Fox and Friends. Flew home, got to spend some time with the family before I was back up in D.C. and did an event up there where I got to talk about the flag and our national anthem and why it is so important for me, why I think it's so vital that, you know, we have people that stand and respect that flag, just because I've got too many friends who have come home draped in that flag. So anyways, it has been an amazing past 2 weeks. So you probably noticed that I'm not in my normal location for filming. You are right. We're in a hotel room. I am in Boston, Massachusetts, home of Paul Revere and the start of the Revolutionary War. So much history here in Boston, but we are here for a special reason. All right, we are here in Boston for the Red Bandana Award, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that award here in a few minutes. I'm going to come back to that and why we're here. Today, we're going to complete our series on the overcome mindset. And the last show, we talked about how to build an overcome mindset and how important it is to have that strong overcome mindset. Today's show, episode 5, we're going to talk about how everyday people do extraordinary things through that strong overcome mindset. Remember, last show when I talked about the 3 rules of the overcome mindset. Rule number 1, there is no quitting. Do not self-select yourself out. If you quit, you are the one that's controlling what's happening. Continue to drive forward. All those external factors will play into it, and you can't control those things. The only thing you can control is yourself. So as long as you don't quit, you are still in the fight. No mental quitting. Build that mental resiliency. Develop that positive mindset, because once you mentally quit and you start to think to yourself, I can't do this, you're going down that road to physically quitting. And then the last thing, wrap your head around the fact that life is not fair. You can do everything right and things will go wrong. But if you confront it, if you look at it and you say, okay, life's not fair. Yes, this sucks right now, but I'm going to figure out a way to get to the other side. Over it, under it, around it, or directly through it, I'm going to get to the other side. So I'm going to recap. The secret to the overcome mindset is this. The overcome mindset is built by leading yourself through adversity, hardship, fear, and failure. It is not built in success. Success is a byproduct of a strong overcome mindset. Now, there is one final component of the overcome mindset that all strong members of the Overcome Army have, and it is a critical skill in leadership, and that is the power of positivity. Nobody wants to be around a negative leader. Nobody wants to be around somebody that's in a bad mood all the time. And in the hardest situations in life, it is natural for people to dive and to fall into that negativity. And it's so easy for all of us to look inward and start focusing on our pain and suffering. That's why absolutely critical as a leader that you recognize in those harder moments how critical it is to be positive, to motivate not only yourself, but to look to motivate those people around you. That is the true foundation of the overcome mindset, and the power of positivity can make that difference. Regardless of the overwhelming obstacles or adversity in your path, you always have the opportunity to overcome. It is your attitude that will determine the outcome. So today, in alignment with everyday heroes displaying the overcome mindset, I want to talk to you about two right now. I'm sure it's easy for you guys to sit there and say, oh yeah, Jay, you were a Navy SEAL. Of course you have the overcome mindset. I'm just an average, ordinary person. You know what? Maybe I have a stronger overcome mindset through some of the things that I've been through. Anyone can develop an overcome mindset. And the thing is, there have been so many, millions and millions of average, ordinary, incredible people that have shown they have an incredible, strong, resilient, overcome mindset. So, bringing it back full circle, why are we here in Boston? We're here for the Red Bandana Award. If you don't know about the Red Bandana, so on 9/11, there was a young man by the name of Wells Crowther. And Wells was a trader working in the World Trade Center, working on the 80th floor or so, when the plane hit that South Tower. It hit right about floor 78 below Wells. Wells knew something bad had happened. The building was on fire. Smoke was coming up. He called his mom and he said, Mom, there's been an accident. Something's happened, but I'm okay. I'm getting out of here. And he headed to the stairwell and he started to make his way down. He descended into hell. That 78th floor was burning with jet fuel. Three of the stairwells were totally destroyed. He managed to find the one that was still accessible. He moved down and he came out onto that 78th floor, and it truly was a living hell. Fire and debris and people that had been burned and that were dying, crying out in pain. Wells could have headed down those stairs and said, I got to get out of here. This building's going to burn down. I know he was afraid for his life, like so many of us in those dangerous situations. But he stayed calm, and he had been a volunteer firefighter in New York when he was younger. And he looked around that crowd and he said, these people need my help. In that moment, he fought back that fear, that overwhelming desire to get out of the danger zone. And instead, he started moving through that 78th floor. He started finding people, triaging people. He started directing people towards the stairwell. He carried one severely injured woman all the way down the stairs, 78 floors to that ground floor to deliver to the firemen. When he got down there, the firefighter said, hey, buddy, you got to get out of here. This building is unstable. It's burning. And Wells said, no, there's people up there that still need my help. I know where they are. I'm staying. Not too long after that, that South Tower collapsed, and Wells Crowther sacrificed his life to save others. We believe he saved at a minimum 12 people. His mom and dad didn't know what happened to him. Several months later, they were still wondering. They were still stressed at the loss and no communication with their son when they read a report in the paper by a young woman who said, I don't know who saved me, but he was wearing a red bandana. You see, when Wells was younger, his dad had given him this red bandana and said, son, carry this wherever you go. It's just a really useful tool. And Wells took that to heart. And he wore that bandana when he was playing lacrosse. He became a great lacrosse player, went on to Boston College, playing lacrosse at a national collegiate level, and he always had that red bandana on. Well, that day, when he descended the stairwell into that hell where the plane hit, he had his red bandana. And the smoke was so thick, he took it out, he got it wet, and he put it over his face. And that young lady in the paper said, I don't know who saved me, but he was wearing that red bandana. 3 years ago, Wells Crowther's parents partnered with People Magazine and Discovery Channel, American Heroes Network, and they created the Red Bandana Award. So we are here in Boston because I am so fortunate to have been nominated for that award, Combat Wounded Coalition included. I was in People Magazine. We're going to be at the football game tomorrow night, Boston College game, Florida State, where I'm going to be able to go out on the field to receive that award in honor of Wells. And then on the American Heroes Network, there's going to be a documentary about Wells' life, about myself, and a couple of the other finalists for the award. My message in this show, though, is Wells was an average, ordinary person who displayed an incredibly strong overcome mindset. You can do it too. You can drive through. Hopefully you will never be in a catastrophic situation like that where lives depend on it and where your life is highly at risk of you're in danger of dying. Hopefully you'll never be in that situation. But hopefully you will build that overcome mindset so that when you're in these harder situations in life, when you encounter those moments where you say life is not fair, you will drive forward and you will find success. So, in alignment with talking about everyday heroes who display the overcome mindset, I'm honored to have on one of my heroes today to talk to you about that overcome mindset and how she built it within herself and got us through some incredibly tough times. Okay, so this guest, this person, this hero of mine, those of you that have read my book know her as my Spartan wife, my long-haired admiral. She was my rock going through some incredibly hard times for both myself and my family. And she showed me, she showed our kids, she showed so many of our friends and family what a strong overcome mindset and the power of positivity can do to drive you through those hard times. So it is my honor. I know you guys are going to be excited to hear her. She is amazing. But to welcome to the show, my lovely wife, Erica Redman. Come on in. So, hi, babe.
Hi.
All right, so welcome to the show. You are the first official guest of the JR Overcome Show. How's that make you feel? You want to hit me, don't you? So
I'm excited. I'm excited to be here, to be part of it, and to speak. And anybody that knows me well knows that I don't like to be on this side of the camera. I like to be on that side of the camera.
But she's really good.
So he twisted my arm, and so here I am.
All right. So first things first. Who was Erica Redman before she met yours truly?
I grew up Louisville, Kentucky, small neighborhood. Lived there my whole life. I really didn't know anybody in the military, or I know my grandfather had served, but I didn't have any direct link or contact. I kind of grew up an only child, and I'd just say kind of a normal. Went to an all-girl Catholic high school, and I was a single mom when we met. I think that it was an interesting time when we met. That I think we had both gone through different hardships, and I think that I was kind of figuring out being independent and trying to go to college and be a single mom.
So, do you think there was anything about you that was like extraordinary, or just, that you had this background rooted in this incredible resiliency and tenacity? I mean, would you describe yourself that way?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So, and here you were, you met this guy who said, hey, I'm in the SEAL teams, and, you guys will have to read the book to hear the whole story of how our relationship developed. But I basically pulled her out of her comfort zone where she had all her support network and brought her back to Virginia Beach. And we were fortunate enough to have a couple of years together where I was going to school, and we built a strong, strong marriage. But quickly after that, the war had broken out, and after I got commissioned, I started to deploy again. And you suddenly were thrust into the full brunt of what so many of our military spouses go through. So talk to me a little bit about that. Talk to me about, as a brand new military wife, where suddenly your husband was starting to, and when we were preparing for war, we were gone all the time. And now then we got ready to deploy to war, and of course now we're deployed to the war zone. So talk to me about how you built that overcome mindset during that time in the first initial years on my first deployment.
I mean, looking back, I don't think I was ever scared of a challenge. I'm not a nervous or anxious person. I think I didn't think twice about moving or starting different jobs or different businesses. So I kind of feel like that's just a little bit of my personality, but I mean, my recommendation was always, to stay busy, to be positive. I didn't watch a lot of the news. I didn't worry. I kind of, I think it's kind of part of who I am. But I also knew that I needed my own life, and I needed my own goals and hobbies and things to keep me busy. The kids were great, but they were also stressful. So between the kids and, but that was always, I think you've got to keep moving. You've got to keep positive.
Which way do we go? Forward. All right. Take us back to September 13th, 2007, that day that forever changed your and my life. Tell everyone about that day, when our world so drastically changed, and what happened that day.
So that day, it was around lunchtime. I had picked up the girls. They were preschool age, so that was like half days. And the phone rang. I noticed the caller ID, U.S. government, all these missed calls, and I didn't put two and two together. And finally, the phone rang, and it was your CO, and he got out, his name, and the phone call dropped. I waited, and at that point, I'm pacing. I know something is very wrong. It took two more times of him calling back to have a 40-minute conversation and to tell me. And I think that was the hardest part, was not getting a phone call from you, not knowing.
And what did he tell you in that call?
In that call, he had said, that you had been shot in the arm, you had been shot in the face, and that you were undergoing surgery. And I was not going to get a phone call because you were trached and wired. So, he told me everything in that phone call. But what I didn't know was your mental state, was, because I kind of felt like, I'm like, all right, we can drive through everything else. We can, even I told our oldest, I told the kids, because I was struggling with the fact of telling the kids that you had been shot in the face. So I told the kids, Daddy was shot in the arm, and he was like, oh, okay, shot in the arm, he'll get better, Dad's okay. So that was, that was kind of my biggest fear was not knowing the extent of everything.
One of the key principles I talk about in situations, emergency situations, catastrophic situations, is to stay calm. And how did you stay so calm and set a good example for our kids and our friends? People talked about, wow, Erica they could tell you were obviously very stressed out, but you stay calm and you got all these things in place to be ready for when they said, hey, your husband will be home in a few days. He's going to be going through this pipeline, Iraq to Germany, and then we're going to try and get him home to Bethesda. So be ready, and we're going to call you when he gets home. So how did you stay so calm through that? And I think that's critical with kids. Our kids feed off us. Other people feed off us. Calm is contagious. You lived it. But what was going through your mind? How did you maintain that?
I definitely, I knew that I had to be calm. I knew that, kids, they're going to react off of us. So it was kind of funny. I started making phone calls, started kind of notifying people, and really just trying to figure out what the steps were. I never would have dreamed that there was this whole process. There was this whole other world that, and this whole support system that, we never even knew existed. So trying to figure that out and navigate. Our kids had just started a brand new school. So at that point, they had only been in a brand new school for about 3 weeks. I didn't know a lot of people then. So I went to the school, and I actually had a conference that was scheduled that day. And I went into and I told one of my friends that I had met at the school, and she went and notified the principal. I went and told the kid's teacher, and she was just like, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, I figured I needed to come tell everybody, and I'm trying to figure this out. So, and the school was amazing. The kids never missed a day of school. They never missed a soccer practice. They never missed a ballet class. Our world was turning upside down, but for them, and they knew stuff was going on, but for them, their routine and that things stayed normal.
And that's a great point, that you've got to build a strong support network around yourself. An overcome mindset is something critical to be able to drive through these hard moments in life. But everybody has to build a team. And if you have people who are negative, people who aren't willing to help you, they're only going to pull you down in these hard moments. I mean, we were blessed, and Erica reached out to so many of our friends and family, and they were able to come in to allow her to focus on the problem at hand and drive forward. So
another funny point. So at the point that I had notified everybody, I had gone and gotten groceries, I had made my list, I had notified a pet sitter, I had done everything that I could think of, that I was leaving my house, and I had no idea for how long. And then it was kind of a waiting game. And I thought it was kind of funny at the time, but looking back, so then I went and got my hair and nails done. No.
There you go, ladies. Even in an emergency situation, you got to look good.
Well, I just laughed. I was like, there was nothing else left to do. I had no idea the next time that I was going to, going to have time to do anything like that. And I think it is funny. I think sometimes when we aren't feeling it, aren't in a great mood, sometimes if you just get up, put makeup on, fix up your hair, and just drive forward, even if you're not feeling it, I think it's amazing what a difference it could make. So I kind of laughed, but I figured if my world was going to be falling down all around me, that my hair and my nails were going to look good.
Overcome mindset at play right there. All right. So many people ask me, how did you handle that situation with your kids? People always ask me that. And so what advice would you have to help other families build an overcome mindset within their kids, especially in crisis situations?
We briefly touched on it, but I think I was honest with them, and I told them they knew something was going on. But, depending on it, and a lot depends on the kids and the individual kids and their ages. But, our kids knew, but I gave them as much information that I thought that they needed or that they can handle. And they're going to feed off of us. So they all knew that you had been shot in the arm. They didn't know about all the other things. So to them, it didn't matter. I told them what they needed to know. They knew Daddy was hurt. He was coming home, and that I was leaving. We were fortunate that they stayed with family and things stayed normal, and they did awesome.
And I think that's what's amazing. The power of positivity in situations like this. Kids are going to feed off their parents. If you are a leader, your team is going to feed off you. If you stay calm, you stay positive, everybody around you is going to say, okay, we can get through this. We can do this, because the leader, in this case, Mom and my amazing wife, she set the example for our kids and for so many others. So, all right. So when you finally got to the hospital, you're standing outside my room, and I wouldn't let you in. What were your thoughts before you entered that room, and then after you came in and you saw me for the first time?
So, 4 days waiting and, navigating through the hospital, and, I got right outside the door, and they basically said, go back and sit in the waiting room, and there was no way I was budging. I figured I had gotten to this point. There was no way.
She choked the nurse out. No, okay, that didn't happen.
There was no way that I was taking a step back. So I waited outside the door. I had no idea what I was walking into what I was going to see. You know, I wasn't sure. I don't know that I was prepared for that, or I just knew that I was putting on a strong face and that I was going in and that, you know, I'd figure it out from there. But I just knew I needed to get to the hospital. I needed to see you. I needed to assess the situation, and that that whatever I felt on the inside or when I walked away was one thing, but that I kind of prepared myself to have that strong game face.
And you did. I mean, it was amazing. You know, I'll tell you, I was terrified of that moment. And, you know, I mean, I had tubes coming out of everywhere. You know, I'm hooked up to all this equipment, you know, heartbeat monitors, beeping. I'm trached. You know, I've got tubes coming out of what's left in my nose. You know, my face is swollen, bloodshot eyes. I was terrified of how you would handle that. And, man, she walked in. Great hair, great nails. But I tell you, it was calming for me. She walked right up to me with a purpose. And, you know, I don't know, you know, what love will do. But, yeah, you walked right up and you kissed me on my mangled face and said, we're going to get through this. And, man, I tell you what, that's leadership. That's the overcome mindset. It immediately put me at peace. And I thought, she's right. We're going to get through this. So what else were you thinking in that moment?
You know, I think I had no idea what I was walking in towards. I wanted to get to that point, and I think that, yes, as a wife, you know, I wanted to be there. And I think that my role quickly switched over to this, okay, what's the plan, you know, just trying to organize it, because it was overwhelming. So I kind of felt like you know, once I got there and you were stable, that was all that you know, that I cared about. You know, I got there, you were stable, and now, you know, how do we drive forward? How do we fix it? What does this look like? You know, what is next?
Forward. I overcome. All right. So, you know, 8 weeks in the hospital, finally they released me. I'll tell you what, when they released me, I was like, I am not ready to get out of the hospital. They capped my trach not too long before I left the hospital, and that was incredibly weird. You know, a trach is a really difficult thing to deal with. It makes you cough. I tell you, it was probably the worst part of my facial injuries. I empathize with anybody out there that has a trach. But they sent me home from the hospital, and I had all these open wounds. I had metal hardware, an external fixator outside of my arm. I had a stomach tube. I'm trached. I'm wired shut. And Erica became my best nurse. There was a home nurse that would come by 3 times a week, but day in and day out, it was Erica who was taking care of me, who, you know, was feeding me, you know, Ensure through a stomach tube, and who had to buy a mortar and pestle and grind up my meds so that, you know, I could get the medicine and the pain medicine I needed to continue to recover and overcome. Who cleaned my wounds, trach, I mean, things that no spouse ever contemplates they may have to do. And so many out there say, I didn't sign up for this, and they quit. They ring that bell. So you were raising 3 small kids, you had your own business, and now you're caring for a severely wounded husband. You stayed so positive. You always had this overcome mindset, and you never complained, never once. And in tough situation, it's human nature to complain in those really hard times. But the problem with that is it can have an insidious effect on a team and on a family. It just, when people are going through massive amounts of adversity, everybody feels the stress. If it's within a family, if it's in a team, an organization, or a company, everybody feels it. And those are the moments when it's absolutely critical that as a leader, you display that overcome mindset, that calmness, that positivity. And you did that. You never once did you complain or say, I wish you had never done this job. I wish you had never volunteered for this. Why did you do this to our family? And I thought a lot about that, the sacrifice that you were making to help me heal after these devastating injuries. And I think back on that I think that would have really crushed my soul if you had ever said, why did you do this to our family? And you never did. Never once. So that had to be really hard on you. I know, taking care of me and doing all those things. So how did you drive forward when we went through that? How did you always stay so positive?
I mean, I think not that we didn't have, I don't want to say that like every day was perfect, that you didn't have, down days, or that I didn't, but, being negative, I think number one, I think initially we were both just grateful and, amazed that you came home. Not everybody's situations are different, but I also, a lot of times, you always said you knew what you signed up for. You knew the possibilities. I don't think we ever dreamed of being severely wounded. I don't think that the injuries that you sustained, I don't think that was ever on our radar. But also, I think we both knew the possibilities. So, blaming somebody, blaming or being mad, that wasn't going to get us anywhere. I always say this. I'm like, we were a good team, and I think that when you surround yourself with a partner, with friends, anybody that you surround yourself, I think that if you had been depressed and sad and angry, that would have been so difficult to like drive forward and kind of keep you motivated. So I think the fact that we were both positive, that you had this, this what's next, I'm driving forward, positive attitude, it makes all the difference. You made it easy to support you.
And it's hard in those moments. When we're going through those moments, it's so easy to get negative. But something I came to realize, and if you can think of the world this way, when bad things happen to you, you cannot go back and change the past. Mm-hmm. You can only drive forward. That is why my motto is, there is only one direction, it is forward. And you got to think about that. So many people waste so much time looking at the past, getting depressed, saying, look at what I lost. But I knew that there was nothing I could do. I could never go back and change what had happened. And I think you understood that too. So we said, how do we get back to our new 100%? So amazing. Okay, so the last question I have, there are so many people out there that are watching right now. They want to build an overcome mindset within themselves. They want to have an overcome mindset within their family. What advice would you give them? What would you tell other families out there, other men and women that are watching? You were not a Navy SEAL. You were never in the military. You've been through some incredible adversity and just crushed through it. Over it, under, around it, directly through it, you overcame. What advice would you give to everybody out there?
So, my advice would be, number one, stay busy. Stay positive. You can't worry about all the small stuff. I know, it's so much easier said than done. I know we both say it all the time. Don't sweat the small things. Keep going. And I think that, people ask us all the time, how do we do everything that we're doing? And sometimes we both laugh because we have no idea.
Because we're insane.
But I do. I think the more things that we take on and the more positive things and the more good that we're trying to do, somehow we figure it out and it always works out. I also think that our mindset of going into our marriage, I think we both came from broken families. Both of us came from divorced homes. That there wasn't another option for us. I think I think from the get-go we knew that this was
till death do us part.
We had one shot. And not that every day is perfect, not that we don't have our disagreements, not that feelings don't get hurt, and that that we don't have our own struggles, but I think that when something goes wrong, we deal with it. Either that day, soon after. I think that it's really important that we don't let things build up, and that if we're arguing, we're not arguing about what happened last week or last month, that it's, that we, and I think you have to do that. If you know that this is it, build that strong foundation, deal with things as they arise. Don't push them down. Don't let them build up. And I was always, excited for you to come home. And now that you're retired, I feel like you're gone just as much as when you were in the military.
More.
So, again, I did it then, and I'm doing it now, that I have to have my own life. I have to have things that keep me busy. I mean, always excited when you're coming home, but if that's all I'm doing is waiting for you to come home, I'm not going to be a very happy person.
So there you have it. Things that you can do to build that overcome mindset within yourself. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Remember what we talked about. Do not quit. Don't self-select yourself out of the equation. Ignore those things that you can't control and just continue to drive forward. Forward, forward, forward. I overcome. John Paul DeJoria has a great saying. For those that don't know him, he was a Navy veteran. He is the founder of Paul Mitchell Products, Patron. He's become a friend of ours. He has a saying that I love, and it kind of captures what Erica was saying here. He says, everything will be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. So you just keep driving forward until you find it. All right. Man, it has been amazing to have my beautiful wife, my long-haired admiral, on the show tonight. I hope she has motivated you as much as she's motivated me. She is living proof that you do not have to be a Navy SEAL or some great big strong strapping person, to have an unbreakable overcome mindset. Anyone can build it and lead themselves to success. She's a shining example of it. Okay, Overcome Army. Today's show is dedicated to the ladies out there. So the first lady that emails me or tweets about the show will receive a limited edition JR I Overcome t-shirt and a JR Overcome coin. So ladies, I want to hear from you. I want to hear your overcome stories. I know there's some amazing ladies out there who stand behind their guys or who are driving forward. You single moms, you're out there, you're making a difference. You are overcoming. You are leading yourself to success. I want to hear from you. I got an I Overcome t-shirt for you. I also still want to hear stories of what you are doing to build that overcome mindset. Whoever sends me the best story of pushing outside their comfort zone, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, and you are forging that overcome mindset, I want to hear about it. You will get a free signed copy of my book, and you will get a JR Overcome coin. I didn't hear anything from anybody after episode 04, so we're rolling this forward to today. So reach out to me with those overcome stories, or if you have questions or comments, questions for future shows, JRIOvercome@iCloud.com, or find me on Twitter @JasonRedman and hashtag the JR Overcome Show. All right, the next show is going to be on November 10th. We're going to jump into exploring one of my favorite topics, that is leadership. We're going to be on leadership for quite a while. I am a student of leadership. I like to consider myself a growing expert on leadership through my own experiences, through so much study that I've done, so much reading that I've done, so much that I've witnessed. I have been at the lowest levels of failure as a leader, and I've reached the pinnacle of success as a leader. And I still am learning every single day. So That's what we're going to be talking about starting on November 10th. We're going to jump into leadership, and I'm looking forward to having you guys join that show. All right. If you like what you're seeing, please pass this along, forward it to your friends, tell them to subscribe to the show. We'd love to build a strong subscription base. We'd like to build the Overcome Army. We need more people out there that are leading themselves to success and overcoming all. So that's going to wrap up episode number 5. And I just want to thank you guys once again for your support. So always remember, there is only one path forward, and there is only one motto: I overcome. All right, Overcome Army, until next time, go out there and lead always and overcome all. All right, thank you.